So this scarcity mindset, this fear-based mindset is evolutionary. It's in us. It's how our brains are wired. It happens like this. It fires in milliseconds in our brains. We can't help it. It's going to be there. How we react to the fear that pops up, now that's what we have in our control. That takes a lot of practice. That takes all of us creating a safe work environment. We're going to feel scarcity. We just have to be aware of it and be in a position to say, I'm not going to live in that zone today.
Hi, everyone. And welcome back to Your Customer, Your Success. My guest today is Chelsey Reynolds. Chelsey is a fractional growth leader that helps founders build growth teams that, as she says, actually work. She's led marketing, sales, and customer success teams and helped teams scale from startups from near ground zero to over 100 million in annual revenue in just over 2 years. These days, Chelsey is focused on tackling what she sees as the real killers of growth: fear-based leadership, organizational silos, and internal competition that drowns out collaboration. She's also a brave podcast host. She is the host of the Growth Department podcast, where she brings on founders and executives for refreshingly candid conversations about what truly drives performance, not just the highlight reel, but the real story. Chelsey, welcome to the show.
Woo! This is going to be a blast.
Thanks for joining us. We have a lot in common because I've been listening to your show, and we're very similar in our thought process, although you're more of a growth person and I'm more of a post-sales customer relations person.
Mm-hmm.
The tone of your show, the guests and everything, the questions, it's very similar. And I've been enjoying listening to your show, and I'm glad to have you here.
Likewise. I don't do chip shots on my show, but I might, and next season might start doing something rapid fire.
Rapid fire. There
Catch
you
them
go.
on, what is it? Catch them on their toes, off their toes?
Often anything like that.
Yeah.
I was thinking a few things. I do maybe a wow or no wow. It's what I've done on a couple
Ooh,
solo episodes.
okay.
Something that's giving you a wow from a client service or customer experience perspective, and not so much of a wow. But we'll think about it. All right.
Okay.
So let's get started. So I got to first talk about going fractional with you, because I've gone fractional. We're going to have a lot of fractional leaders on to start the year, and I want to know from you, what's it like stepping away from the high earning role in the kind of W-2 world to go fractional and build your own personal brand?
Stepping away from the security and betting on yourself is terrifying. There are days when I say, why? Why did you do it? But it's also really, really fun because you get to just dive in and do the work that you love the most. And as fractional, there's really not a lot of politics. So you're just going in and saying, this isn't working and here's why. You're not trying to navigate, or I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to be, but I just feel freer.
You feel free, right?
Yeah.
And so do I. But I think there's going to be a theme later about the internal politics and
Mm.
the silos, etc. But that is a challenge, and that's right. It is freeing, right? You feel like you could be yourself more, and you don't have to fit into your square
Mhm.
box in your chart and just be limited by that. But at the same time, you're right. It is slightly terrifying because there's no safety net. You're just doing your thing, right? So you don't have the comfort of that W-2 or the bennies. So, well, good for you and good luck. And we'll be talking, I think, a lot about it in the next year or so, but it seems like quite the hot topic. So good for you. All right. So let's get into kind of the business of sales and customer success and leading those teams, and kind of the little bit of the strife and the struggle that you hear a lot about. So you've led sales, you led marketing and customer success teams. In your opinion, just give it, straight from the heart from you, why do those teams kind of often struggle to work together effectively?
I think it starts with what a lot of folks probably just did. They put their plan for next year together, their growth targets at least. Hey, our goal for 2026 is blank. And I don't think most leaders are stopping and asking how that impacts each team. And
Hmm.
is each team's goals aligned to that? Are they being compensated to that? Are they being encouraged to work together? It's just, here's the target. Okay, here we go. That step of how does this target impact everybody's job and how they show up is skipped a lot of times.
And so right, that's a great point, because every team kind of has their goals, and You might cascade them. I hate that word, by the way. You cascade your goals down, and it's your goals and your team, but it's got nothing to do with anybody else's team, right? So the sales incentive might have nothing to do with the retention piece, which the retention piece is going to help the sales possibly. And so like we talk about this all the time. And so I just so how do you help teams do that a little bit better?
There's a layer on top. We'll get into like what a growth department is, but there's a layer that sits on top of all of these teams that is looking at operations, at growth operations. So, how does marketing impact sales? How does sales impact the customer experience? How does the customer experience play with product? How do they all play with product? And then how does that actually tie back in and get us to grow more? So the flywheel we've all seen.
Hmm.
Um, we've seen the graphic of a flywheel. I don't think many companies are living it at
No,
all.
and that's the big word. Flywheel has come up. I don't know. That is the big word these days. A flywheel. It just keeps coming up in conversation. So that's the analogy, and that's the visual people are using.
Yeah, HubSpot does it, the inbound marketing tool, or now it's a CRM, now it's everything. But
Right.
HubSpot had the inbound flywheel that just now is everywhere on the internet. So that's where I first learned it
The
years
fly.
ago.
So the flywheel's big. But okay, so we talked before, and sometimes these teams don't work together well, and sometimes the sales teams don't exactly work well with the customer success teams. But where do those teams, do you think, sometimes, most likely unintentionally, make customer success a little bit harder?
I'm going to preface this by saying I am a sales girly. I started in 100% commission sales. So I get it. And so when I say this to salespeople, this is more of a like gentle shake of the shoulders to wake you up, not a no shame. There are two ways that I really see sales making it harder. The first would be the sales folks were not setting clear expectations of what's going to happen. And the clear expectations aren't rooted in reality of
Hmm.
what the actual journey is going to be like after they sign the deal. The
Right.
second would be the handoffs aren't smooth. So if you're saying it does this, it does that, you're going to enjoy this, you're going to enjoy that, and the product doesn't do it or your service doesn't do what you say, that's a red flag. That's not really great for a customer at all.
No.
Um, but if you're setting expectations that are maybe a little different, like, hey, yes, we can do that. There's a caveat here. You need to make sure that the handoffs are smooth. So if you say something in the sales cycle that's a little bit wonky or specialized to that customer, make sure that the customer success knows it. Maybe even
Hmm.
talk to them before you go into that sales meeting or right after so that before they sign the deal, expectations are clear. How about you?
And
Do you see that?
yes, yeah, and I think we've done it better. I've talked a lot about on the show about how in financial service and investment servicing, we do, I think, work a little bit better than the SaaS world in that regard because it's an RFP driven world.
Mhm.
And I've always worked in teams and organizations that pull the client manager, the client face people in immediately.
Mhm.
So to me, my next question to you is when should you be pulled into the process, into the sales process? And to me, it's almost immediately. Now for us, it's delineated by an RFP, right? So you need to be involved with that because that RFP is asking questions. It's giving you details on the account structure of let's call it a pension plan, and you're the one who's got to understand and does understand how to implement that with the accounting teams and all that. So we were always pulled in sooner. And I've worked in teams in the investment world, the traditional structure, the client people, the relationship management people, the product people, and the sales people are all on the same team in one institutional group. So when you have that structure and you're all on the same team, literally,
Mhm.
and you're all on that Monday meeting together, works a little bit better than kind of the bigger firms where I've worked at, where everybody is separate. So you've kind of got the client people over here, and you've got the operations over here, and then you got sales over here, and product. Forget about it. We never get to talk to them. So when you're all on the same team talking together, you should be grounded in what each other's doing. But I think to me, the bigger the company is, the harder that gets. And with the smaller investment firm, I think it was a little bit easier. And I wasn't even a small firm. We're talking about, 500 to 1,000 people. But that's the way I see it working. And I know that gets harder as you get bigger because everybody's got here's that dreaded word, silos.
Yep. And so if your pod basically is what you were working in,
Yeah.
you had your own processes. Was what a customer success person did in that pod different than what might have happened in a different branch of the company?
Not really, because it was basically we're doing the same thing. You know what I mean? Because we were the B2B end of the business. The other end of the business was more of a B2C, where you'd have a
Mhm.
call center for a mutual fund. You might have a call center environment, and you wouldn't have that relationship function. And I think that is the difference to me, right? So I've always
Yeah.
been I hate to use this term B2B because I just call it a relationship driven business, but I have the B2B background, not the B2C.
Mhm. So for B2B, if you have different pods and each pod is doing something the same function differently, that's when it gets trickier and harder to scale because
Right.
then you're like looking in the CRM and you've got all these custom fields, all this crazy stuff. But sounds like you were doing it where everybody who was taking care of customers in customer success role was doing it the same way. They just had,
Pretty well,
they're supposed
supposedly.
to be.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So certainly it would vary by client. Like we're very client specific in our world, and so you'd have different client teams doing things a little bit different. And I think, we later in my career got rid of some of those pods. Like I like that concept of a pod because that's the way I started my career. We weren't calling it a pod in those days, but we were very focused on some very big clients in a pod, and
Mhm.
it's actually more effective if you ask me, but it presents a trouble when you're trying to scale like you're
Mhm.
saying. So it's effective from a client experience standpoint but not a scaling standpoint.
Mhm. In terms of how early should you bring customer success into the sales cycle
Mhm.
in B2B, let's just use SaaS or
Mhm.
services. I like to make it very clear I'm going to be handing you off. Like
Mhm.
it's not realistic for me to be your babysitter and shepherd you and hold on to you forever. I'm going to hand you off. But that's in the sales cycle explaining this is how us buying from us works. So setting up the stages. This is how onboarding works, setting out the stages so that this prospect knows, okay, if I agree to take the next call, the steps are this. We've all agreed these are the steps to buy from this vendor. I'm also asking them, how do they buy? So, do we need to get other people involved? It's not just all about us, but setting the expectations. Here, you're going to sign a contract, so that's not like something they're confused about. You're going to have an onboarding call. Then we're going to do this. We have customer support. So throughout the sales process, sprinkling in what's going to happen when they're our customer, and then this is a little piece that I learned in my little Cialdini class recently, the
And you what
influence.
class?
Yeah, have you heard of the book Influence?
No.
It's the psychology of persuasion. It's a
Oh.
classic, and I took a course on an 8-week course just because I wanted to deep dive. It's so fascinating.
Mhm.
And one of the powers of persuasion is authority. And
Mm.
to give, if you say, I'm the authority in this, I'm the best customer success person, it means nothing. It might actually hurt it. But if
Right.
I'm the salesperson and I'm saying, I'm going to pass you off to Gary, and he is the absolute best. Here's what he did to other clients. Here's what he did
For
for other clients just like you. The success rates he'd seen, and I hype you up before the deal
Mhm.
even closes. Then you're excited. You trust Gary. You're ready to work with Gary. You know you're going to be working with Gary. And you know Gary's good at his job and he's done it before. So that's what
Mhm.
I like to do in terms of getting folks
Right.
involved, not necessarily making customer success hop on the demos.
Yeah, no, that's great. No, you're credentializing your colleague, which is important, and then that also becomes my job as your
Mhm.
client manager to credentialize everybody else you'll be working with, the accounting team, the whoever you're working with, right? If it's a product team, or as you go along in that relationship, and you need to introduce somebody new for whatever reason it is, that is your job, and that's one of the reasons I do the intros to the podcast. You're a podcast host. A lot of people say, "Don't do an intro, just go." People are going to turn you off. No, not on a business podcast. It's my job to introduce you to my audience for the same reason, to let everybody know why you're here and what you've done and why you're successful. So it's the same concept that I apply to the beginning of the show, which I only took me 2 or 3 takes with you, but can take me 3 or 4 sometimes to get that intro right.
Yeah, it's really hard to read kind of look into a camera. I can see why people
I
go
try.
to journalism school or communications, and
I
the
it
teleprompter is not easy.
yeah, no, I try to do it off of this little teleprompter here
Yeah.
because I want to get it right because I've tried to do it from memory when I started. Forget it, and I know what my guy's sitting there going, "Oh God, you know, take
It's
27. Come on, Gare." Right?
it's been
But
40 minutes.
thank thank God I had some gracious guests when I started. But it's the same concept, right? But that is super important to credentialize that person that you're going to be working with, rather than kind of that cold transfer, I guess you call
Hmm.
it,
Hmm.
right? So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying, even if I've never met Gary, I'm just smiling as I say this every time. Even if I'm a new customer and I've never met Gary and I go into my first meeting with Gary, I'm going to feel warm and fuzzy about Gary.
Right.
Just
Right.
am.
Yeah, it's just good business, and it's helpful for everybody, and it's simple stuff. So why do you feel that doesn't that to me this is like 101, sales 101, relationship management 101, and I feel a lot of teams struggle with it, especially in the SaaS sphere, as I guess we call it, the LinkedIn sphere, like I like to say. How do you think why do folks struggle with this?
There are many ways, many reasons. I think the easiest way to fix it would be figure out how to get that before information,
Hmm.
before data, before numbers for your prospect, and figure out how to nicely, gently give that to customer success. Whether that's a field in your CRM, whether that's you write it down in a notebook and you have to fill out certain fields every time for every customer and read them off to your customer success on an internal handoff call, whatever it is, somehow capture why is this company or person buying? What are they hoping to achieve? What are they actually buying from us? What's their end game? How can we get them there? And then if you have before numbers, like it's taking them 10 hours to do this now. It's taking them it's costing them $1 million a year. That's gold. And a lot of
Hmm.
companies just drop that on the floor. No one's
Hmm.
writing it down. No one's sharing it post sale. And when you start doing that simple task of writing the stuff down, why the heck did this company buy from us? What did they buy?
Hmm.
Uh, then you can have excellent customer success and it just feeds the marketing engine. Like
Right.
it even feeds product. Like, hey, this is the main reason most customers are coming to us.
Right. And CRM, no CRM, put this in a CRM.
Oh my gosh. Yes, if you
Okay.
can. I mean,
Because you're saying write it down. Yeah.
I
Go
know
ahead.
companies that have, 50 plus million in annual revenue that don't have a CRM.
Okay. That's where I was going with it because I heard you saying writing it down. I'm going, oh, please, God, help me.
It's
Please
better
tell
than
me you have a
nothing.
CRM.
It's better than
Right.
nothing.
And you would be surprised, though, that
Mhm.
who doesn't have a CRM and or who has a very ineffective one and doesn't use it. And believe me, I've been there because I've used all different tools in all different places and at different levels and had it happen intrinsically or had it kind of forced upon you to use it. And if you use it right, this sounds like, again, customer success 101, but that doesn't always happen, right?
Oh no. It's rare. How many companies have you worked at where the CRM was like a joy?
Is it a joy? Absolutely zero. How many, how many companies have had it with the CRM? All of them, but it's a matter of fitting it. And again, this is where it's so hard to excel in a big company. The bigger the company, the harder it is to fit. Even though you get a big fancy software package by a big provider that everybody knows. I'm not trying to make fun of anybody here, but um, it's not one size fits all. And then you got to kind of cram it in, and it gets a little ugly. Um, doesn't fit what you do because you need it for very specific needs. So the more specific you get, I think the harder it gets to use those things in an effective way.
I think jamming yourself into, I'll just say the name, a Salesforce when you're a small or medium sized business, unless you have the budget to invest in it and have somebody run it, or at least an outsourced part time person to run it for you, that's a beast. There are other CRMs that are much easier to learn. The UI is prettier. So, I don't even like going into Salesforce. It makes my head hurt because it's so ugly. So like I need a HubSpot or something prettier for me to
Something's
quickly see the buttons.
Yeah, no, I would say I think the lesson here is make it fit your company and what you're doing because the bigger tools like that are kind of fancy schmancy and I guess have the bells and the whistles, but they're expensive and they're very hard to fit into what you do, and that's what I've run into and struggle with. And then people don't want to use it,
Oh yeah, it's
and
got to
then
be
you get
easy.
the finger wag for not using it. But I've had it like literally not work. So you couldn't put in your client meetings because the dang thing would give you an error, and then
Mm,
like why are your client meetings there? Because I can't get it in to
yep.
the damn thing. All right, so we're we're not here to talk about CSM management and software reviews, but that is a very important topic. I want to get back into the silos and the fear-based leadership and all that great stuff that you talk about because that is a lot of what we've talked about in the past year on this show. And so let's start the bidding with you on this. What do you think is the real danger of silos, intentional or not?
Have you ever worked with a vendor or called up a customer support line and had the answer be, "Oh, that's not my department."
Yeah, right. Yep.
Immediately, I feel duped. I feel like, what am I even paying for? Why don't they get along? Customers can sense when you have internal operations that are shit or that aren't
Right.
connected properly. They can feel it. They can feel
Oh yeah.
when your teams don't like each other. Oh, well, that's not how our policy is. Like, you can
Hmm.
feel it. So the immediate danger is your customers are going to sense it and it's not going to feel good when they call in.
No. Agreed.
The Yeah.
Agreed.
I said the bigger danger is it starts little, a little tiny crack, and then your silos grow taller and wider apart in the field or the meadow. Like, one's way over here doing their own thing, one's over here, and getting it back together is very, very tough.
Very, yeah, right,
Very, very
Sarah. Right.
tough.
Now, right. Now, yeah, obviously you hit on the customer end of it. And it is, I mean, especially for people like you and me who are attuned to it, it's painfully obvious when you've got teams that are not aligned and you got the silos going. But I think the other danger becomes exactly what we touched on at the beginning of the show, which is you get these teams that are completely separate with their own separate agendas and their own separate goals for the year and cascading the goals, like we talked about. And the one has everything to do with the other, and you got competing agendas. And so then that becomes apparent to the client in a little bit more of a passive way. But you know what I'm trying to say?
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And
Um,
internally, it doesn't feel fun. No one's having
no,
fun.
no, but that's right. And there goes right. This is where you start turning the teams against each other, and the internal battles start coming out, and you get the internal competition, and that leads to all sorts of fun stuff, which is the next question. But that's really something that's going to cause pain and strife between the teams, right? Because if I've got a goal to put in at a CRM every time a team messes up, well, that team's not going to want to be on the bad list all the time. And now all of a sudden they've got their work cut out for her and them, and they're under budgetary constraints, and they've got lack of people, and mistakes are happening. But the last thing they want is their team showing up on this report that says you keep screwing up for our customers, right?
And I think that's the first thing we need to shine a light on is, why are they scared of being on that list?
Right.
You
Right.
know, why is there that fear instead of a kind of excitement to come to a team meeting and say, "Guys," say I'm the marketing person, "we only brought in 10 leads instead of 50 last month. Let's figure this out as a group. Like, this
Hmm.
is what we did bring in. Were any of these good? Would you rather have 10" Sorry, I just dropped. Here I am. Would you rather have 10 really good leads than 50? Would you rather this? Like, having a conversation, figuring out things together. Sometimes great ideas will come from someone not in your department at all. Usually does.
Absolutely. You that's true because they've got the third person perspective, right?
Mhm. But why
Right.
are we so afraid of not hitting our goals? Are we working at a company where we're going to be fired the day that we don't hit our goal? Is that the company culture where we work?
For a lot of people, it is. Yes.
For a lot of people, that is what it's like. So that
And
if you're a leader, setting that as your culture is immediately putting teams against each other, putting people with their backs against the wall, making a culture where their cortisol levels are spiked. And there's so much research on how you can't make great decisions. Even if there's a great decision right in front of you, you will make a safer decision if your brain and amygdala is flipped and cortisol spikes. You will make a safer decision, even if a more optimal one is over here, right here.
Mhm. Right. So now I've asked this of a number of people. Why do you think that fear-based management is so prevalent?
It's hardwired into us. So we are, as a species, wired to fear, and scarcity got us where we are. If you look at
Hmm.
this, there's a tiger. I'm scared. I can run from it. Or I need food. Are you going to be more wired to, I'm not sure if I'm saying this properly. So our ancestors would be more set up for, I need this much food to survive. And then once they got that, that's it. That's all they needed. They aren't wired to, I need to have a mansion on the side of the beach. They're wired to, what do I need to survive? Right.
Hmm. Hmm.
So this scarcity mindset, this fear-based mindset is evolutionary. It's in us. It's how our brains are wired. It happens like this. It fires in milliseconds in our brains. We can't help it. It's going to be there. How we react to the fear that pops up, now that's what we have in our control. That takes a lot of practice. That takes all of us creating a safe work environment. Um, yeah, but we're going to be afraid. We're going to feel scarcity. We just have to be aware of it and be in a position to say, I'm not going to live in that zone today.
And right, and you're not the first person to mention that kind of that fear and that survival instinct. But I think the problem has become that survival instinct is being triggered more often than not because of the plain and simple fact that here are your metrics. If you don't meet them, you're gone. Or it's not so much that direct as you're going to get laid off because you're picking up the news. I mean, no, no, I used to pick up the newspaper. I still say that. Or you're reading the feed and you're just going on LinkedIn. 3,000 people laid off. 4,000 people laid off. 5,000 people laid off. And your job is on the line and your livelihood. So I think it just becomes this vicious cycle of basically survival.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of where it comes from. Now, what there's a bunch of different um, behaviors that cause that, I think, but a lot of it has to do with the short term nature of the goals and the metrics, especially if you're in a public company, right? Because you've got to hit your numbers and you've got to hit your goals and you got to have everybody just did their goals and you got to cascade them and you got to hit them or there's trouble, right?
And why are we setting them at that pace? Like, do we need to grow 40% every year? Why?
All right, that's the question. That's the magic question for leadership, right? Because well, you've got like, and I don't want to have a naive conversation. You've got stakeholders. You've got stockhold, investors, stockholders, boards to keep happy. But what
Mhm.
really is your strategy? Is it make sense? And are you doing too much too soon? You wouldn't be the first person on this show to say, and it takes kind of a brave soul to say it. Sometimes happens too fast, and you've just got to slow down. But it's change, change, change all the time. Change, which is fine. Change if the change is good, and you do have to change and do have to adapt. But you got to think about the pace and what you're doing to people and your teams and your clients even. And I
Mm.
don't think that is often. As much as consideration as kind of the internal metrics that you've got to post. What are we doing? Let's do metrics. Let's measure. We got to you can't manage what you can't measure, and everybody throws their metrics out there, and it becomes one big mess. And from my viewpoint,
You're just smearing on a whole nother layer of fear and just like gooping a big pile of it with every new change management project that you're putting on top of your team without proper change management or change leadership.
right?
Yeah.
A big
Oof.
smear the fear.
That's my motto.
Which, well, unfortunately, it's a lot of people's motto, and it's been something we've been trying to hit for a long time on the show. But that is just it. It is, people are not necessarily scared of change. People say that all the time. People don't like change. People are scared of change. Well, not if the change is good.
Show
They're
me how I'm
they're
going to make more money. Show me how
show.
I'm going to live a happier life. I'll do
Well,
it.
but how's it gonna make my job easier and make the clients happier,
Yeah.
right? Or the customers happier? Then we're all good because there's
Hmm.
plenty of changes that are good. But if somebody's resistant to change, it could be because he didn't explain the change well or he didn't explain what's going to happen well. and it's the fear of the uncertainty. And again, here comes the fear again. It's the fear of losing your job, or it's the fear of the uncertainty of whether or not this is going to work, or the change isn't really actually going to make your life easier. It's going to make your life harder.
Mm.
And that's where the resistance comes in, not necessarily that people are fearful of change.
When I first stepped into a senior management role, senior leadership role, I noticed myself doing these fear-based things, even though I had studied, even though I had, a coach. And I was like, why the hell am I doing what I hated? If I
Hmm.
hated micromanagement, why am I micromanaging? Like, why am I pushing this shit downhill onto my team? It's not creating a space for them to do their best. They're not going to do their best if I'm shaming them about
Hmm.
not making enough calls. Like, come on. So
Hmm.
I had to have a like woof moment in the mirror, and I'm not perfect, but
No,
I'm getting
and I'm
better.
not saying, and I'm making again. It's not easy, and and the goal of the show isn't to say any of this is particularly easy, but we're all wrestling with these challenges and these external forces that are forcing you to do something, right? I mean, that's a great
Yeah.
example. You felt forced to do something that made you uncomfortable. That wasn't in your own nature and your own kind of leadership style, right?
And I
And
bet
I'm all
most leaders don't nobody wants
no,
to be the micromanager
well,
deep in their heart. Like they love that.
some do. Some, I think so, but no, not many. I think most people absolutely want to be that coach and that leader and that mentor, maybe even, but they're what's the word I'm looking for? Um, kind of I don't want to say forced is the wrong word, but pushed into that mindset that you just mentioned, and they kind of have to do it, right? Or else. And I'm kind of oversimplifying, I think, but that's kind of what you're describing.
I would challenge leaders to say, "Huh, or else," and see what happens. Like start declining meetings. Nothing happened. Nothing bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
Start saying, "No, my team didn't make that many calls. This is what I'm actually
Well,
seeing. Here's what the data is really showing us. Here's what we're working on." And maybe it's not the company for you. Maybe you need
well,
to find a company that doesn't, and this is again going back to scarcity. Like the robots are taking our jobs. Where's a job? But just the more you stick up that middle finger and say, I don't care,
hmm
the easier it becomes.
we've made it almost 30 minutes without using those two letters, the A and the I. But the question I had for you though is your realization, did that come to you on your own? Did you self realize that, or was there something that kind of made you take a look in the mirror? Like, did someone say something to you, or was there an employee or a teammate that was like, "What the hell's going on?" That made you say, "Whoa, wait a second."
I burned out. I was
Yeah.
working like at least 14 hours a day.
Hmm.
Um, and I was like, why am I doing all this? Why am I doing other people's work and my work and this and that? So I couldn't physically do anymore and crashed and thought, okay, this isn't the way it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to lift folks up, teach them, give them the tools, the training, and the targets, and then let them spread their beautiful wings and fly, and then coach them
Hmm.
along the way, give them what they
Right.
need. Um, so that took time to start that releasing of the control and trusting that if we stick to the plan, if we do the things that we know work well again and again, we're going to hit our targets. Like we already planned this out, we already mapped it out. Trust the plan and do the work. Stop panicking, micromanaging.
So that's interesting. So it was a self realization. It wasn't like a wow moment that changed your perspective.
No,
Yeah.
I probably scared everybody too much for them to
Yep.
to tell me something because I hadn't created a space at work where they would
Where they
say, "Bro,
well
what are
well
you doing?"
sometimes there is that brave soul that gets up and says right,
Uh-huh.
and it's like a whoa moment for you, and sometimes not, but that's interesting. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right, we only have a few minutes left in the regular interview section, and then we got to hit the segments. One last question for you. If a founder came to you today and said growth feels harder than it should be, where would be the first place you look?
Ooh, this is fun.
I try to make it halfway farm
I'd
for you.
ask them for some sort of very specific dashboard, like, where's your growth dashboard? Or where's, you know, let's look at your meeting notes from the last growth meeting. And likely they don't have it. And that's where we start. We say,
Hmm.
okay, you need to know what each team's doing. We need to know how that works together and how that all gets to the goal. And that takes time. It doesn't you can't get it all aligned in a month. But starting with what you don't know is huge.
Nice. So I think you're saying let's take a fresh perspective on this, and it's going to depend where you're going. Um, but so there's no one size fits all.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Yep. Okay. Awesome.
I say
Th-
absolutely. No,
yeah. No.
I
No.
don't
No. I
believe
was
there's one size fits all.
no. I mean, sometimes people have their method, and here's my thing, and here's my proven 5 point method, and all that stuff.
Oh.
Um, but I was yeah.
I've spent the
Good.
last decade very heavily in freight technology. So
In what? Right?
freight tech, supply chain tech.
Wow.
So how
Interesting.
shit moves around the world.
I
And the
wish I knew
way
that sooner. That could have been the title of the episode.
how shit
How shit
moves.
moves around the world.
But you try to close a deal with somebody in a trucking company versus somebody who's working in finance. It's two different processes. It
Oh yeah.
and it I didn't believe it when I first joined the SaaS company. I tried to force like my other SaaS on it was working on
Mm,
landscapers. Why is it not going to work on
mm,
this specific trucking? No, it each region has their own way of doing things. Like try to sell an American product to Germany and see what happens, right?
yeah.
Like what some burger place just went over there and it flopped.
Not so
Because
much.
yeah, what's that one? Shake Shack? I don't
Shake
know.
Shack?
But it
Yeah.
flopped because they didn't
Oh really?
take the local way of doing things into consideration. So, I don't think there's one size fits all.
Wow. No, of course not. But I just kind of I love to get my guest take on that kind of perspective. Because some people do have their kind of formula, let's say, or a way of doing things, or a way of looking at it, or kind of a process to go through. But interesting. But yeah, you do have that construction background, right? That's got to be an interesting viewpoint that you bring to the process, right? Because that's not a way most people will think of this fancy business consulting and tech and AI and all that stuff, but you literally bring that experience from the ground up, literally, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't fancy. I was like doing the drywall.
You did
I
that's no, that's what I mean, right? That's literally from the ground up, as
yeah,
opposed to we talk about all these fancy investment stuff and technology stuff. That's tangible, real world stuff, and that's not easy to do,
but fun.
but fun. But fun. Speaking of fun, we got to hit the fun part of the show,
Okay.
which is the segments. Let's hit the segments.
Segments.
All right. It is time for Does It Hold Water, my favorite segment. This is where I ask my guests to be our resident expert witness for the day to channel their inner Mona Lisa Vito, as it were. And so we read a quote, a piece of thought leadership, or a direct quote, and see if our guest thinks it holds water or not. So I actually am going back. I do have a direct quote from somebody, and I am quoting this person. And the person I am quoting is the defense team is quoting Reid Hoffman today. And Reid says, if you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late. Does Reid's quote hold water?
Fact.
Fact? Hit it. Why?
Oh, when we get to another segment, I talk about my favorite book. You will know why. But you're
Okay.
you just got to let go. Sometimes you're going to feel embarrassed. If you're making your first social post, it's going to feel cringy. If you're putting your product out there, it's going to be like, holy shit, this is all off. That's okay. It's supposed to. It's
Yeah.
supposed to get. You could put it out there and get fancier over time with your internal team and with your external products.
Interesting. Because now you're a growth expert, right? So, but you don't want to grow too fast. But to me, it's like you got to take your time. But if it's crap, why are you putting it out there? So I've always struggled with this one, and I get it, but it's making in a very interesting point. But I just the instinct says, well, you shouldn't be embarrassed by your product. But I don't know. So I figure that I've always found that as an interesting take on it, and I'm not sure where I stand on it. So I figured I figured I'd ask you.
I mean, use your podcast. If you go back to your first episode ever, are you like, this was amazing, right? Like
Yeah,
my first one, I was
true.
sweaty as hell. I was so nervous. It's just like but you did it. You shipped it, right? You put it
Yep.
out there, and then you got better over time. You've added segments that you liked over time. Like
E-
i-
Yep.
if it's valuable to one person, it's doing its job. Now find more of those
It
one more people.
and God bless Rick Denton. I had a very experienced podcaster on who my first episode on purpose because he carried me through that
Uh-huh.
episode because he's super professional, has his own podcast, has two podcasts, and but Rick was great. But yeah, I could look back and oh my God, because I didn't even I still have trouble centering myself, but I was over here. You kind of actually want to sit in front of the camera and you want to be in front of the microphone, not over here, and it was very awkward. You're right. But no, I see what you mean. But podcasting advice, yeah, 101. Get out there, but have a clue and learn how to center yourself. I still haven't figured it out because I sit diagonally.
In 5 years, we're going to look back and we're going to say, look at how silly we were. We couldn't center ourselves.
When we're both in our studios
Yes,
and our
our
podcast.
professional studios. We laugh as we manifest
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so when we're on Joe Rogan, we'll be laughing at where we
Yep.
came from. So okay, sure. All right, let's hit chip shots.
Okay. Ready.
All right, it is time for chip shots. Our fun yet still professional questions, a little bit shorter form. We try to go with 3 or 4 that I think will be interesting for our guests. We got some traditional ones. We always start with the book question, Chelsey. What is one book that has significantly influenced your professional or personal life, and how did it impact you? There
Boom,
it is.
boom,
She's got it.
boom. I've
The
listened.
prefer-
I listen to books on tape,
yeah,
but I got the
tape.
hard. Oh, it's showing my age. Yeah, I listen to books on tape, but I
A
still say
VHS
tape it,
or-
record it.
I did the same thing. I'm laughing because I did the same thing. I said the Patriots are on at night. I said, guys, I'm going to tape the Patriots
Yeah.
for you. You go to bed. And it's tape the Patriots? What does that mean?
We're not even getting to the TiVo. We're not going to TiVo it. We're going all the way back to VHS.
Tape it. I still say it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so this is The Perfectionist Guide to Losing Control by Catherine Morgan Schaeffler. I just might have said her name wrong, but it's excellent. There are 5 different types of perfectionists. It's not exactly what we think it is. And this is, letting go of your type of control. It's nothing wrong with being a perfectionist. It teaches you how to use it as your superpower. So someone who doesn't want to release their product, you're likely a procrastinator, perfectionist.
Interesting. So now does she go into anything about personality types like the disc profiles? What I've been reading is a book that I've been listening to on audiobook, not tape.
Oh.
Surrounded by Idiots, which is the 4 personality types: red, yellow, green, blue, which equates to the disc profile basically. And I think that's where the disc profile mainly comes from. But do they go into the personality types at all? Or is it just everybody has a little of these 5 in them? They think
Not everybody is a perfectionist. Some people are blessed to not be. But for those who do have the superpower, which is also a struggle, it breaks down the 5 different types she's seen through research and from her practice.
I bet they're blues. Most of these folks. I don't know if you know anything about the Surrounded by Idiots or the disc. Basically the C's in the disc profile. The people that are very structured, need the organization, need the spreadsheets, the task lists, their planners, write everything in their planner still.
You'd be surprised. It's some of the types of perfectionists are like, I get jazzed up to start a company and I love ideas and launching, but the execution and follow through I hate.
Yeah.
Right. That's one type. Then the other type is the planning, but not actually doing. And then one is the classic is planning, doing, it needs to be right. So I can't describe all of it, but it basically, I'm a perfectionist. I'm okay with it. And it's helped me kind of chill out a bit and not worry so much. It's all going to be okay, guys.
It's I love it. That's a great one. So that fits right into a lot of what I've been looking into right now. So that's another one to put on the list, which I need to update. Okay. Let's move along to the leader question. I love this leader question. If you could spend a day shadowing a real current leader in any profession, in any industry, who would it be and what would you hope to learn?
I think Reese Witherspoon,
Nice.
because she's like a multi hyphenate. She does all sorts of different things. She sticks to her values and she seems to be having fun. I just want to, you don't have to be just one thing. And I love what she's doing.
What else does she do?
Brilliant. She does one of her businesses is a book club where she
Hmm.
promotes specific authors and then she buys the rights to those books and turns them into movies. And so she's made a lot of money off it, but also lifted up these authors from books that weren't necessarily found before. And
Yeah.
win win. Um, yeah, she's just got a lot going on and she keeps working, but doesn't seem publicly at least that she's burnt out or not enjoying it. Seems like she loves what she does.
Yeah. And if you're doing a variety of things like that, then you're not going to get burnt out, right? Because then
Mhm,
I didn't know that about her. Very interesting. Good
mhm.
one. Awesome. All right. This one, I think I just looking at your history and from what I've talked about and listening to your show, I got to go with this one. I moved up one of the old ones for you. Is there a
Ooh.
particular experience or failure early in your career that taught you a valuable lesson you still use today?
I mean, we don't have another 45 minutes.
We don't. I've got a little bit of coffee left and some water, and I could sit back. Go ahead.
Here's one thing. I was a bartender post college, like late 20s. I was bartending, and somebody that knew my family came up to me and was like, "What are you doing here? Let me get you a real job," and handed me their business card and said it in front of all of the servers, in front of all the bartenders.
Oh dear.
And I was so mortified that someone would have the audacity to come and say that my job wasn't a job.
Mm,
So, um, treating people with respect and knowing that you don't need to have a certain paycheck or a certain title or anything like that to be a human that deserves love and the ability to chase joy. Like wherever you are in your career, you're doing just fine. It'll work out.
hmm that's oh boy. So that is sorry that happened to you, but that is an eye opener. And oh my God, how could it be so? As I'm sorry, my grandparents and grandparents' language, stew nuts to say something like that to somebody. Awful because I just have nothing but respect for the people who are working that hard behind the bar, serving you cooks,
Yeah.
the whole thing. And I'm always fascinated where I go anywhere. This is part of the business school nerd, and I had a professor tell me this at business school. You're going to look at everything differently when you go in because you're thinking through like who's doing what, how many people are working. Anytime I'm in a restaurant or a bar, I'm always just kind of having fun looking how many people are working, how many people are in there, who's doing what, and my brain is always going, how many people they come through here, and how many people it takes to run this place. And it's just I'm not doing it because I'm a nerd and trying to calculate, but it's just kind of while you're sitting there. I don't know. I just have fun checking out how this place is run because a lot of places are run well and not
Yeah.
run very well. And there's a lot of people working pretty hard there. And dear God, I would never say anything like that. My God. All right. Let's keep it moving. We have one more for you. And I think this is going to be an interesting one for you because we've talked a lot about this already. But what is one question that you always ask a customer or a client that never fails to reveal something new?
I have a tendency to jump into business talk really
Mhm.
quickly. Like, don't waste
Yeah.
my time. Let's get to the damn meat. So I have found that stepping back and giving yourself a few minutes to get to know each other and ask personal questions will teach you more than anything. If
Mm,
someone's not willing to pause with you and give you a minute or two to answer some personal things, how was your weekend, and dive deeper into building a relationship with you, that is going to tell you where you are in your relationship and where you are in the sales cycle. Because
yeah.
you could sprint and show them all the features and everything, but you don't have a relationship with this person yet. So
Hmm.
start there.
No, no, wise advice, and we've talked about that as well a number of times. I'm constantly surprised by the number of people who don't know my name, right? When you go, it's building that relationship when you go somewhere, whether it be the bakery or wherever. I've been going like 10, I've been living here 10 years, and they don't even know your name, so to speak. And obviously the staff turns over, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where you're a repeat customer going somewhere. I don't know. To me, it was different, but growing up, it was always like I kind of have the Cheers philosophy where everybody knows your name. I don't expect them to yell Norm when I walk in. I don't expect everybody to yell Gary when I walk in. But still, it's like amazing how most people that I frequent these stores, I see these people all the time, and they have no idea who I am, or even say, "Hey, how you doing this week?" Nothing. And to me, that's gold. It's just that is the absolute goal, to make somebody feel welcome like that. And I kid around. My mom used to always think she's everybody's best customer, but she would go in there and start talking to them, like Frank behind the deli counter, or Mario at the fish counter. Like it was like she knew everybody, right? Because if she needed fish, she knew who to talk to. She needed that, like unbelievable. But I think that's totally missing, and that's such an easy thing to do.
Hmm. It's the
Yeah.
first thing. Again, to influence, read Influence. That'd be another book I'd say read. Listen to
Yeah.
that on tape. Mr.
Yeah.
Cialdini is a very cute voice.
Yeah. Nah, on tape.
I'm going to send you all of my cassettes, and you're going to be like, I didn't know she was serious.
Get the A track for your car.
That's all it takes. So I don't know what else I would get.
Oh my God. Chelsey Reynolds, great guest. Thank you so much for being here. This has been a blast. Why don't you let everybody know where they can find you?
Hello, you can find me on the internet. I hang out the most on LinkedIn, and I'm starting a Substack in 2026. So watch out.
Watch out for that. So follow Chelsey on LinkedIn, and then go ahead. The podcast one more time is
Growth Department.
available YouTube or just audio. You have YouTube, right?
Everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yep.
Everywhere you can find me. Find Chelsey too.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome job, Chelsey. Everybody, hey, thanks for joining us. Happy New Year. I don't think I said Happy New Year, because by the time this comes out, it's going to be 2026. So
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. That's all for today. Bye for now. That's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We hope you found something insightful that will enhance your experiences and drive your success. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a review and share your thoughts to help us improve the show. Don't forget to head on over to mariscxhub.com for more ways to connect with me and learn more about experience management. Until next time, I'm Gary Mara, working hard for your customer and your success.